Ladies and gentlemen, listen close, because what I'm about to tell you isn't just words. It's a truth that can change the trajectory of your life. Too many people think that their future is decided by their goals. You set a goal, you chase it, and somehow you believe the goal itself will get you there. But I'm here to tell you, your goals don't define your future. Your standards do. Not the lofty goals you scribble down, not the dreams that dance in your head, but the standards you set for yourself every single day. Those invisible lines you refuse to cross, those principles that guide your actions. That's what builds your future. Let me break this down for you. You see, too many people walk around thinking that their goals are the tickets to their future. They set a goal, maybe a big one. Run that marathon, land that promotion, build that business, and they stare at that goal like it's the finish line. But here's the truth, goals are just points on a map. They tell you where you want to go, but they don't build the path you have to walk to get there. That path, that road, it's built by something far deeper, far stronger, your standards. Your standards are the foundation beneath every goal you ever set. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you want to run a marathon. Now, the goal is simple, right? Finish the race. Cross that finish line with your head held high. But if you think that goal alone will get you there, you're fooling yourself. The goal is the destination, but the standards you live by are the bricks beneath your feet. The question is, what kind of bricks are you laying every day? Are they strong? Are they built to last? Or are you just hoping the road will appear when you want it to? If your standard is, I train every single day, no matter what, then you're laying bricks of discipline, strength, and endurance. You don't wait for motivation because you know it's unreliable. You don't make excuses because your standard doesn't allow them. You show up in rain, shine, sickness, or fatigue, and that's what makes you unstoppable. That's what transforms someone who once dreamed about finishing a marathon into someone who crosses that finish line with power and pride. Without standards, goals are just dreams. Wishes cast into the wind with no foundation to hold them up. Let me bring this closer to home. Think about a great athlete, not just anyone, but the ones you see on TV, the ones who rise above the rest. They don't just have a goal to win, they live by a standard of excellence. Every practice, every meal, every night's sleep, they hold themselves to a standard of greatness. They don't settle for good enough. That standard of excellence is their backbone, their secret weapon. And that's why they win, not just once, but over and over again. The victories follow the standards, not the other way around. Now, some might say, well, I've got a goal to start my own business, to get that degree, to write that book. That's good. You should have those goals. But what happens when the first hard day hits? When the road gets steep and the weight of the journey presses down on you? If your standards are weak, you might find yourself falling back into old habits, procrastination, self-doubt, giving up. But if your standards are ironclad, you'll keep moving, you'll keep showing up, because your standards say, this is who I am. I don't quit. There's something powerful about standards. They demand accountability from the inside out. Nobody else has to hold you to them. They don't depend on applause or recognition. They're yours and yours alone. And that internal commitment changes everything. It's what separates the people who talk about their dreams from the people who live them. I want you to think about the people you admire in your life, the ones who've made it through the struggle, who've built something real. I promise you, behind every success story is a standard that was never compromised. The single parent who works 2 jobs, goes to school, and still finds time to be there for their child. They're not just chasing a goal. They're living by a standard. I will provide. I will sacrifice. I will endure. That standard carries them through exhaustion and doubt. It keeps them going when most would quit. And it's not just the big things. Standards live in the small moments too. The decision to be honest when it's easier to lie. The choice to keep your word when no one is watching. The commitment to respect yourself enough not to settle for less than you deserve. These little standards, practiced daily, shape who you are and build a future you can be proud of. People often ask, how do I stay motivated? I'll tell you, motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the wind. Standards, real standards, they're steady. They don't rely on feeling good or lucky breaks. They're the quiet force that pushes you through the days when you feel weak, the nights when doubts creep in. They remind you who you are and what you stand for. Look around you. Look at the people who have changed their lives. They're not waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect conditions. They have a standard of excellence that drives them forward. They don't just want to get by, they want to rise, to become better, to leave a legacy. And they know that this doesn't come from just setting a goal. It comes from living a standard that refuses to accept less. So when you think about your future, don't just ask, what goals do I want to reach? Ask yourself, what standards am I setting for the journey? What kind of person do I have to be to reach those goals? Because here's the truth. Your standards shape your habits shape your character, and your character shapes your destiny. It's not the goal on paper that changes your life. It's the standards you live by every day that decide the course of your future. When you commit to standards that honor your worth and your potential, your future becomes unstoppable. You build resilience, you gain respect, and you create a life that no setback can shake. The road is long and it's not easy, but with the right standards, every step forward is a victory. Your standards decide your future, not your goals. So raise the bar on what you accept from yourself. Don't settle for dreams alone. Build the foundation first, build the standards, and watch as the rest follows. Life has a way of testing us. It throws curveballs when we least expect them. You make a plan, set your goals, map out the future, and then boom, something happens. A change in the job market, a personal setback, a health issue, or a loss that shakes you to your core. Goals are flexible, they have to be. Life's unpredictable, and sometimes you have to adjust, reroute, or even scrap a goal altogether. That's reality. But what stays steady, what keeps you anchored through all the storms? Your standards. Those are non-negotiable. They don't break. They don't fluctuate with your mood or the circumstances. Standards are the backbone of your character. They are the promises you make to yourself about who you will be and what you will stand for, no matter what happens outside of you. When the pressure comes, and it will, you can't just abandon your standards and expect to hold yourself up. If your standards are flexible like your goals, then you're walking on quicksand, waiting to sink. But if your standards are rigid like steel, they keep you grounded, steady, and true. Imagine a moment where you're offered a shortcut. Maybe it's easier to lie, cheat, or cut corners to reach a goal faster. You can say, I'll just do it this one time. But the truth is, when you start compromising your standards, even once, it's like opening a door you thought was locked tight. And once that door swings open, it's hard to close. You lose your grip on who you are. You lose the respect you have for yourself. And without that, your future starts slipping away. Integrity is one of those standards that can never be negotiable. You say, I will not compromise my integrity. It doesn't matter if the goal is to get a promotion, to finish school, or to start a business. If you break your integrity to get there, you've already lost. Because the person you become while chasing a goal is more important than the goal itself. The future you want isn't just about success. It's about becoming someone worthy of that success. And integrity is the foundation for that worthiness. There's a story that comes to mind about a young man who grew up in a tough neighborhood, faced with choices that could have led him down the wrong path. Temptations, distractions, pressure to take the easy way out. It was all around him. But he set a standard for himself. I will not steal. I will not lie. I will not give up on my dreams. And when opportunities came, he stayed true to those standards, even when the easier path was staring him in the face. That young man didn't just survive, he thrived. He built a life his community could be proud of. And it was because he held onto standards that never wavered, even when goals changed, even when life pushed hard. You see, when life throws curveballs and you have to adjust your goals, maybe your dream job no longer exists, or you have to take a detour in your education, your standards are your compass. They guide your decisions, your actions, your responses. They remind you who you are at your core and keep you moving forward with dignity and strength. Let me ask you this. What happens when people start to lower their standards? It's like they lose themselves piece by piece. One compromise leads to another. And suddenly, the person looking back in the mirror isn't the person they hope to become. They're a shadow of themselves. That's a dangerous place to be, because losing yourself means losing the future you're fighting for. It means giving up the chance to be the best version of you, the person who lives with pride, passion, and purpose. It takes courage to hold your standards high when everything around you is shifting. It takes courage to say, no, I will not lower my expectations for myself, even when it feels like you're standing alone. But here's the truth: when you stand firm in your standards, you become unshakable. You build a life that isn't just about reaching a goal, but about being someone who can face any challenge and still stand tall. Think about the people you respect most, those who have endured hardship and come out stronger. What sets them apart is not just their goals, but their unwavering standards. They are the ones who show up every day, hold themselves accountable, refuse to cut corners, and protect their integrity like a fortress. And that's why their success lasts, why their legacy endures. Your standards are your anchor in the storm. They are what keep you grounded when your goals have to shift, when the road gets rocky, and when the pressure threatens to break you. They are your commitment to yourself that no matter what happens, you will not lose sight of who you are and what you stand for. So, when you find yourself facing change, uncertainty, or disappointment, don't despair. Remember that your goals can change. That's life's way of telling you to be flexible, to learn to grow. But your standards, they must remain firm. Hold on to them with everything you've got. They are the true measure of your strength, your character, and your future. Because in the end, it's not the goal you achieve that defines you. It's the standards you live by when no one is watching. Those standards will carry you through the toughest times, shape the person you become, and ensure that when you reach your destination, whatever that destination may be, you'll arrive with honor, with pride, and with the knowledge that you never sold out on yourself. Keep your standards high, protect your integrity fiercely, and no matter how your goals change or the storms you face, know this: you will never lose yourself. And when you never lose yourself, you secure the future you've been fighting for. Your standards, they're not just some rules you write down or some checklist you follow when it's convenient. No, they are the foundation of who you are. They shape the very essence of your character, and your character, that's your currency. In this life, it's not how much money you make, not the titles you hold, not the things you accumulate. It's who you are when no one's watching. It's the integrity you carry with you every single day. Because that character, that core of who you are, determines everything. The people you meet, the opportunities that come your way, the respect you earn, none of that happens by chance. It happens because your character is solid, because your standards are unshakable. Think about the people you admire most in history, the ones whose names echo through the halls of time. What made them unforgettable wasn't just their achievements or the goals they reached. Those things fade away. But their character, that was carved out by high standards. Standards of honesty, of perseverance, and of accountability. They didn't compromise when the pressure was on. They didn't cut corners when it was easier to do so. They held themselves to a higher bar, and that made all the difference. It's easy to chase goals, anyone can do that, but it takes strength to build character, and that strength will carry you through every storm. When you raise your standards, you're not just trying to impress someone else. You're telling yourself you deserve better. You're telling yourself that your integrity is non-negotiable, that you won't settle for anything less than what aligns with your values. That's powerful because it means you're living your truth, not someone else's version of success. And when you do that, doors open that you never even knew existed. Relationships deepen because people sense your authenticity. Opportunities arise because people trust you. Respect flows naturally because you give it to yourself first. You see, goals are fleeting. They come and they go. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But character is permanent. It's the legacy you leave behind long after the applause has died down and the spotlight has moved on. That's why it's so important to anchor your life in standards that reflect the kind of person you want to be. When you do that, every decision becomes clearer. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to show who you really are. Because your character isn't just a label, it's a reflection of your soul. It's what people see when they look at you. But more importantly, it's what you see when you look in the mirror. Imagine a life where your character is unshakable, where honesty isn't a choice but a habit, where perseverance drives you forward, even when the road is tough and the odds are stacked against you, where accountability means you own your mistakes and learn from them instead of running away. That life isn't some distant dream. It's available to you right now if you decide to stand firm on your standards. You have the power to define who you are and who you will become. But it requires courage. It requires discipline. It requires a refusal to settle for less than your best self. This journey isn't easy. It's not for the faint of heart. You will face moments where the easy way out tempts you, where cutting corners seems like the smarter choice, where bending your principles feels like the only way to survive. But those moments are tests that reveal the depth of your character. When you pass those tests, when you hold firm to your standards, you're not just building a reputation, you're building a life that matters. You're creating a legacy of strength, integrity, and honor that will inspire those who come after you. Remember, character shapes destiny. It's the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Without strong standards, that bridge crumbles. Without character, your destiny remains out of reach. But when you choose to live by high standards, when you commit to being honest, persistent, and accountable, you create a foundation so solid that nothing can shake it. You become the kind of person who doesn't just chase dreams, but lives them. You become the kind of person who commands respect, not because you demand it, but because you earn it every day through your actions. So hold tight to your standards. Let them guide your decisions. Let them define your character. Because when you do, you're not just living, you're thriving. You're not just existing, you're leading. And your character, that priceless currency, will open doors to a destiny far greater than any goal could ever bring. You want to succeed? Then don't just tell me about your dreams, show me your daily habits. Because success isn't some one-time event, some lucky break that happens overnight. No, success is built brick by brick, day after day, moment after moment, through consistent actions that stack up over time. It's in the small things, the everyday commitments that you make to yourself and the world around you. That's where your true power lies. Not in grand gestures or sudden bursts of effort, but in the quiet discipline of showing up again and again with the same drive, the same dedication. Your standards, they set the boundaries for these habits. They are the framework that holds your life together. When you say, I show up on time, you're not just talking about being punctual. You're talking about respect for others, but more importantly, respect for yourself. When you decide, I give my best effort, you're choosing to honor your potential, no matter the circumstances, no matter how tough the road gets. And when you make a promise to yourself, I finish what I start, you're declaring your commitment to follow through, to see things through even when the fire inside you wants to die down. This kind of consistency, it's rare. It's the mark of someone who refuses to settle for mediocrity. Someone who understands that success isn't a destination, it's a journey. And that journey is paved by the decisions you make every single day. You may not feel like doing the work some days. You might be tired, discouraged, or tempted to take the easy way out. But it's in those moments that your standards will either make you or break you. When you hold firm to your standards, when you push through the resistance, you build something unshakable. A life of reliability, of trustworthiness, of true success. Think about those who have achieved greatness. It's never luck or talent alone. It's the power of their daily habits, shaped by their unwavering standards. They didn't just wake up one day and find success waiting for them. They built it piece by piece, habit by habit. And that's exactly what you have to do. You have to be relentless in your pursuit, consistent in your efforts, and uncompromising in your standards. You see, standards are not just a list of rules, they're a commitment to excellence. When you set a standard, you create a boundary that says, this is what I stand for. This is who I am. And those boundaries protect you from the distractions, the shortcuts, the temptations that try to pull you away from your path. They keep you grounded and focused, especially when the world around you is chaotic and unpredictable. Consistency is the bridge between where you are now and where you want to be. It turns dreams into reality and potential into performance. Without consistency, your efforts become scattered and your progress stalls. But with it, you create momentum, a force so powerful it carries you through setbacks, failures, and doubts. Every time you honor your standards and repeat your habits, you build trust in yourself. You prove to yourself that you are reliable, disciplined, and worthy of success. And that trust, it's everything. Because when you trust yourself, you can face any challenge with confidence. You can rise after every fall and keep moving forward no matter what. You become the kind of person others can depend on, not just for a moment, but for a lifetime. And in that, you find something more valuable than any award or recognition, a deep, unshakable belief in your own ability to succeed.